Emma and the Genie's Lamp. In a quiet village, surrounded by tall green hills and a silver-blue river, there lived a young lady named Emma. Her eyes were soft like dawnlight, and her voice was so beautiful that even birds paused to listen when she sang. But though her heart was pure, her life was far from kind. Emma lived with her father and her stepmother, a woman whose beauty ended where her cruelty began. The stepmother had 3 daughters, all near Emma's age, loud, lazy, and spiteful. Their hearts were as cold as river stones, and their tongues as sharp as blades. Each morning, while her stepsisters slept in silken sheets, Emma swept the floors, fetched water, and scrubbed their dirty clothes until her hands ached. Whenever she tried to rest, her stepmother's voice cut through the house like thunder. "Emma, you think chores do themselves. Move faster, girl." Her father, once a kind man, had become a shadow of himself. He obeyed everything his wife said and seemed blind to Emma's pain. Sometimes Emma wondered if a spell had been cast on him, for he no longer spoke to her with warmth. So she bore her sorrow quietly, and when the house grew too heavy with cruelty, she escaped to the only place that gave her peace, the woods by the spring water. The woods were her sanctuary. There, sunlight filtered through tall trees and danced across the clear spring. Emma often sat by the water's edge, dipped her feet in the cool ripples, and sang. Her songs carried her heart, gentle, sad, and full of longing. Sometimes she sang to the wind, sometimes to the memory of her mother, who had passed when she was a child. But one day, after enduring a morning of endless insults and unfair chores, Emma could no longer hold her tears. She ran into the woods, her apron still damp, her hair loose and tangled, until she reached the spring. Sitting by the water, she began to sing through her sobs, a song of pain, loneliness, and the wish for freedom. Her voice trembled at first, but soon grew strong, echoing through the trees like a prayer. As she sang, her eyes caught something glimmering in the sand nearby, half buried under dry leaves. It was an old brass lamp, dusty and dull, but shaped beautifully as though made for royalty. Curious, Emma picked it up and began to wipe off the sand with her hands. Before she could take a proper look, a gust of wind swirled around her, lifting her hair. The ground shook slightly, and the lamp began to glow. Then, with a great flash of blue smoke, a genie burst out, tall, luminous, and smiling. He stretched as though awakening from a long slumber. "Ah, at last I am free," the genie boomed joyfully. "You wish, I answer. Your wish is my command. You have 3 wishes to make, so make them count." Emma stumbled backwards in shock, eyes wide. The genie chuckled warmly, seeing her frightened face. "Do not fear, child," he said. "I serve only those who need me most." His voice was deep but kind, and his eyes shimmered like starlight. Emma gasped, still trembling. You're real?" The genie grinned. "As real as your heart's desire." After a pause, Emma whispered, "If you truly can grant wishes, then I want to find my mother. I miss her so much. I dream of her every night." The genie's smile softened. He nodded and sang again in his deep, melodic voice. You wish, I answer. Your wish is my command. The water in the spring began to shimmer like glass. Slowly, an image appeared. A woman locked inside a dim cottage, weak and frightened. Emma gasped. That's her! That's my mother! But she's alive? The genie nodded solemnly. She was hidden away by someone who fears her return. Emma recognized the cottage, an old abandoned place not far from her home. Her heart raced. She clutched the lamp and ran through the woods, branches scratching her arms, her feet barely touching the ground. When she reached the cottage, she found the door chained, but her determination was stronger than fear. She grabbed a nearby stone, struck the rusty lock again and again until it broke. Inside, she found her mother, frail but alive. Mother, she cried, wrapping her arms around her. Her mother sobbed with joy. My child, you found me. She helped her out, supporting her weak frame, and together they ran to her mother's sister's house in the next village. There, Emma told her everything and showed her the lamp that had made it possible. Days later, Emma returned home quietly, hiding the lamp. Her stepmother and stepsisters were as cruel as ever. They accused her of being lazy, called her ugly names, and even threw out the food she had prepared. When night came, Emma sat by her window and whispered, I wish my mother and I had a peaceful home, a place no one can hurt us, a place filled with love and plenty. The genie appeared again, glowing softly. You wish, I answer. Your wish is my command. You have 2 wishes to make, so make them count. He lifted his hands, and in a swirl of golden light, a beautiful home appeared at the edge of the forest. A cottage surrounded by flowers and tall palm trees. Inside, it sat a basket woven with gold thread, filled with coins that shimmered endlessly. This basket will never dry up, the genie said. Use it wisely. Emma thanked him, tears of gratitude shining in her eyes. The next day, she moved her mother into the new home. The 2 of them laughed and danced for years. They cooked, sang, and shared meals in peace. But one thing still troubled Emma, her father. She returned to her old home once more, holding the lamp tightly. Her stepmother was shouting orders as usual, her stepsisters mocking her from the doorway. She went silently to her father's room. He sat there, staring blankly, lost in a fog, as though his mind belonged to someone else. Emma knelt and whispered, Genie, please help my father remember who he is. The genie appeared again, humming his familiar tune. You wish, I answer. Your wish is my command. You have 1 wish to make, so make it count. Emma said softly, I wish my father to be freed from whatever spell binds him, to return to his senses and remember the love he once had for my mother and me. The genie's hands glowed bright blue. A soft light surrounded her father. Slowly, he blinked and looked around confused. Emma, he whispered, my dear child, what have I done? He wept bitterly, realizing how cruelly he had behaved. Emma held his hands and forgave him. Her stepmother and stepsisters, seeing the change, grew fearful. The father turned to them, anger and shame filling his eyes. Leave this house, he said sternly. You have no power here anymore. Emma never told them about her magic lamp
or her new home. She simply took her father by the hand and led him to her mother's cottage in the forest. There, the family was finally whole again. The genie appeared once last time, smiling. Your heart was pure, your wishes selfless. My task here is done. May your days be filled with peace. And with a swirl of golden mist, he vanished back into his lamp, leaving behind only the faint sound of his song drifting through the trees. You wish, I answer, your wish is my command. From that day, Emma's story spread far and wide. People spoke not only of her beauty, but of her kindness, courage, and forgiveness.